So a traveler's update in downtown Vancouver, in the financial district. So we're in the big area, so the major downtown core of Vancouver. We're not too far away. I guess that's George Street and Melville. Of course, if you've heard of Vancouver, you've no doubt heard about some of the not so savory side of the city, Hastings and everything. That is on one side of the city, and certainly there is a drug problem in Canada. But then you come down like a block away from Hastings, and this is basically what you walk into. Not exactly, I mean, it's a bit further away, but Robson Street isn't too far away, and that's a very touristy area for shopping and like little artsy cafes. Lots more for the tourism rather than right here. The one thing I've noticed about the buildings between China and Canada, I'd have to say that the buildings in Canada seem a little bit more lived in. And I wonder if that has to do with not just the longevity of them, despite them being new, but how they are built. So a lot of Chinese buildings are sort of these sheet concrete that they put up, and they put up buildings very quickly. But to put up a building here, and there is more construction, there is a lot of construction in downtown Vancouver, it's not as quick. In Beijing, they could put up a building in a matter of months. Here in Canada, I would say it probably takes a lot longer than you expect it to. A lot more permitting, restrictions on sound levels or noise levels, and also restrictions on how many hours people can work and everything. But I don't know. Have you been to Vancouver? Have you been to parts of Canada? If you're in North America, how would you describe the buildings in your area? To me, when you walk down a place like Vancouver, it seems like the buildings, although they are not flashy and new, they're clean. And I wonder if that has to do with some of the air pollution and things like that. Vancouver certainly has very nice smelling air. That is to say, you can't smell it, which is very nice. But in terms of the buildings that people work in, buildings that people live in, I would also, a lot smaller, of course, compared to Beijing, compared to China. Lots of China has, it's not even a Ferrari. A lot of places in China have really tall skyscrapers, and they all look the same. Whereas here, maybe this has to do with, would it be state-sponsored real estate development, state-sponsored building? That in China it would be like 2 or 3 companies that do everything, but in Canada you would have you would have more choices of construction builders and things like that. So does that contribute to the difference in the style of buildings? One other thing about Vancouver that you start seeing, you see it in Korea, you see it in where else? Japan. Japan's very famous for it, but the coffee culture, of course. And here we just went to Manger Eatery. I don't know if they're famous or anything, but of course, brewed coffee. So their own roasteries and stuff like that. That's been a big thing, of sort of a staple. Been a staple of British Columbia, a staple of Vancouver, and not so much Canada all over, but Vancouver and certainly Toronto. They had their micro roasters, and of course Montreal too. The other thing that I will say that I miss about being in Canada are the soft cookies. You can't find these in China. They're very difficult. You have to order them from people who actually, like North Americans who live in China, either from the United States or from Canada. There are a few in Beijing that make soft serve cookies, but anyway, I know it's a small detail. And the one other thing I would say that I miss about, since living in China, no donuts. And this seems like it's all these things that donuts aren't good for you, not as good for you. Is anything good about a donut? I don't know. Cookies, I mean, is it just those things that I miss? Well, I mean, there's a few other things, but in terms of the snack food that you have available in Canada compared to China, something like that doesn't compare. And there are a lot more, what would you call them, patisseries or bake shops, and not like that type of bake shop. There are lots of that type of bake shops here in Vancouver, but I mean like your baguette, your pastry shops and things like that. You don't have a lot of that in Beijing. But I mean, we're comparing China to Canada or Vancouver to Beijing. Of course, there's going to be differences. Overall, I am told Vancouver is stupidly expensive. But again, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's kind of like every big city is expensive. how much would excuse me, how much is minimum wage in Vancouver?
Oh, we're not from here.
Okay, where are you guys from?
I'm from Manitoba.
Oh, hi, welcome. Saskatchewan, I'm from Winnipeg.
And we just hit 15 here, I think.
Oh, okay.
In Manitoba.
Manitoba's 15. I think it's around 17. It's 1750 in Toronto, I think. So.
We're the lowest. I'm in Saskatchewan, come on.
Right, okay.
We're the lowest of everything. We may look local, we just mean.
Yeah, no, I got you.
And I don't know in China either.
China's 17 renminbi, $3, $4 or something like that. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. That's why they have manufacturing there.
Right?
So in terms of cost of living, in terms of money that you're making, a lot of people would say like the minimum wage has been steadily increasing in Canada over time, but the cost of living has also gone up as well. And we're not talking like just cost of living in terms of, coffees that you're getting. We're talking water bills, utilities, phone bills. How much do you pay for your phone service in Canada is unbelievable. Compare that to China, super cheap. Have a good trip, ladies. So some people were asking, like, would I ever come back to Canada? And I'll tell you, in terms of that cost of living, you look at it and go, compare Beijing to Vancouver, something like that. You can be making good money in Vancouver, you'll be making money in Beijing, and yet you'll still struggle just because the cost of living has been going up. But you know what? Money's one thing. What about quality of life? Hey, I've made videos about living in China before. I don't have really any intention to leave it just yet, especially coming to a place like Vancouver. I mean, it'd be kind of neat to live downtown Vancouver, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. Anyway, what do you guys want to see about Canada? What do you want to know about Canada? Let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer as much as I can. Do some on-the-ground research. Boots on the ground, shoes on the ground here in Vancouver. I'll be heading over to Central Canada later on in the week, and I'll give you another look down there as well. Anyway, hope you guys are well. If you have any questions, let me know, and we'll be in touch. There you go. That's the cafe we want to. Manger. And no, I haven't heard too much French here. I've heard a little bit of French, but more other languages, actually Spanish and German, and of course some Chinese. Hope you guys are well. Take care.